All right, I think we've got everything where we need it for this evening. Sorry, we had a slight snafu with the technology, but that's the world we live in these days, right? So good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Michael Rapasky, and I'm the team leader and CEO of Keller Williams Greater Metropolitan. Really excited to have you all in the room tonight and any of you on Zoom as well. We're going to cover a lot of different aspects of a career in real estate, what it looks like to get your license, what it looks like to pass the exam, and then finally what it looks like to build a business here with Keller Williams Greater Metropolitan. So before we dive into this lovely and illustrious PowerPoint that I know will have you all on the edge of your seats, I would love if we could just do introductions around the room to get an idea of who's in the room, where you're at in the process, and what you're most interested in getting out of this evening. So if we go ahead and start with you, Veronica.
Okay. Hey everybody. My name is Veronica. I recently got licensed and joined Keller Williams like a couple months ago. So I'm fairly new. Like I'm still trying to build my foundation and figure out how to just get my momentum going. And I mean, I'm just here to get anything I can out of tonight. I don't know if I have any expectations. I'm just trying to learn as much as I can.
Terrific. Thanks. Karen.
Hi everyone, I'm Karen Mitchell. I work here for the Market Center alongside Michael and Jake. On the leadership team. Yeah.
All right, great.
Hi everyone, I'm Gianni Zabo. Currently I don't have my license, but I'm looking forward tonight to learn how to start that process.
Terrific. We'll definitely cover that.
Hi everyone, I'm Joe Cicero. I am team leader for the Cicero team at Keller Williams. And I've been in the business now 3 years. 3 years? 2, 3? I don't know.
Yeah.
Long enough. I was retired.
You've been in this business
Yeah,
for
I've
3
been in
years.
this business for 3 years. I was retired and then I came back out. No, I don't say that. That's okay. Really glad to see you guys here. And if you have any questions, I can find an answer.
Hello, everyone. I'm Anthony. I'm still a student at Ohio State, but I'm slowly starting to get my license and study for the test. One thing I would say I'm looking to is understanding more like the structure of Keller Williams and understanding more about the business of Keller. So yeah.
Great.
Hi, I'm Allie, and I'm in the process of like taking the courses and then hopefully getting licensed soon and selling houses.
Love that.
I'm Steve Cortez. I was invited by Jake. I currently work at Audi Bedford, and that's how we met. Looking forward to getting started on this. I'm as green as can be. I haven't started anything. But here I am.
It's great.
Jake Lozier, operating principal here, and run a real estate team, Lozier Real Estate Group, and would have loved for something like this to be offered when I got my license 17 years or so ago. So just, soak it up, take the notes.
Awesome.
I'm Alexis Carruthers. I am just finished my schooling over the weekend, so hopefully get to take my test soon. And I just kind of want to hear more about what Keller Williams has to offer and the things that they plan.
Awesome.
Hello everyone, my name is Gianna Spagna. I was invited by Colleen. We met, well, I kind of got referred to her through an internship I did. I'm a student at Lakeland Community College.
Nice.
So we're kind of talking about the social media aspect for her team. And then as terms of the real estate side, I've taken all my classes, but still haven't scheduled my test yet. So I'm excited to learn more about that. And then just as this brokerage in general.
Terrific.
Okay. My name is Colleen Nicklaus. I do run my own team. I've been doing business, I've been in real estate, I should say, 17 years. And for those of you who are new here tonight, I have been at many other firms. I will say you are in a great place to learn and be educated by the best. The consistent training and education here is key. That doesn't exist at other brokerages. So, and I welcome Jim.
Thank you.
Excellent. Well, again, thank you all for being here. We've got a couple on Zoom, but I know they already reached out. They're not in a position where they're going to be chatty. So we'll have our conversation in this space here. First things first, I want to make sure everyone understands where we are and the reach of our office. So Keller Williams Greater Metropolitan has 2 locations, one in Pepper Pike, where you are right now, and then also one in Rocky River. So when you're a part of this office, you have access to professional office space, as well as resources and agents that work literally every part of the city. We have as agents as far west as Wakeman, which I hear is somewhere almost to Toledo, and then as far east as Madison, and even getting out into the Youngstown area, and as far south as Canton. And so there are 7 different Keller Williams franchises in Northeast Ohio. We have agents that drive past 3 or 4 of them to come work here because of all the things that we're going to talk about tonight: our culture, our training, our support, and the technology that we offer. We, as Keller Williams, the Realty International, are the #1 training organization in all of real estate. We've been named the #1 training organization in all of corporations. We actually won that award so many times that they retired us from being able to win it and started a Hall of Fame so that they could let somebody else win it. So you're going to hear a lot and see a lot about training and education tonight, because we know that everything that we need or an agent would need in any market can be delivered through training and education. So that's going to be one of the big rocks that we focus on as an organization, to make sure that you have everything that you need to win for your clients. We are the #1 office in all of Northeast Ohio. So no office sells more units, takes more listing, closes more houses, or helps more clients than we do. We will, as we make it through this week, I thought it might be today, it'll probably be tomorrow or the next day, but we'll cross $1 billion in total closed business. We'll be the first office in Northeast Ohio to hit that number. And what's really cool is, and you'll hear this from me a lot. I think I probably sold about $600,000 worth of properties this year. So it's not me doing it. It's folks like Joe and his team, and Colleen and Jake and our other 447 agents in this office. And so when we look at what we do as an organization, we believe that we work for the agent, not the other way around. We'll talk a little bit about how that manifests itself for you as agents, but it's important to understand that if you achieve your goals, we're going to grow as a company, right? And that's going to be our primary focus, is understanding what it looks like for anybody in this room to have the life that they want and fund it through real estate. And if we do that for enough people, we know that we're going to be a very successful company. So this status of #1 office in the MLS, which this will be the 4th consecutive year that we've held that title, that's a signal to us, not that we've achieved some great thing, but that we've helped agents achieve their goals. So who are the people who are helping with that? So you'll note that a few of us are in the room here tonight, but as you explore opportunities in real estate and look at what offices are available, and you interview other brokerages, which you will hear me say many, many times, that you should interview multiple brokerages, because there are 960 offices in Northeast Ohio. All of them have a unique value proposition. All of them offer something different. I'm very, very confident that you can interview with all 960, and it is likely that you will choose ours, right? More agents choose to work with us than any other brokerage. So I'm confident in that. We've got nothing to hide. Very transparent as an organization. I want you to know that when you interview with those other brokerages, it's oftentimes that there will be a manager, right? Or there will be a person who is responsible for helping you in your real estate career. Here at Keller Williams Greater Metropolitan, there are lots of people who are invested in your success. You're going to see that our leadership team has over a half a dozen people. And you're also going to hear about how agents help one another through our Agent Leadership Council. But know that whether it is support with a difficult deal that it needs to involve a broker, our broker's on call. Whether it is help with your business plan or getting your first deal done, that's me, that's our agent services team. Getting paid, which is always very important. That's our market center administration team. And then our productivity coaching program is something that helps agents in your positions, since everybody here is new or not yet licensed. Very, very valuable with respect to making sure that you're focused on the right things when you start your career. So we'll cover all of that and more this evening. But one of the first things I want to talk about is, as an organization, in any organization that you visit or interview with, you'll see that they have certain values or certain beliefs or certain words that show up on the wall, right? We're no different. But it is very, very important to us that we live those values and that they are there in real time. And so one of the ways that we live up to this idea of being built by agents and for agents is through the Agent Leadership Council. So with over 450 agents in our office, it is, it might be difficult to conceive that everybody would get the time, attention, resources, and support that they need. One of the ways that we make sure that we're serving agents in the best way possible, that we're getting agents exactly what they need when they need it, is we have the Agent Leadership Council, which is made up of agents that are in the top 20% of all agents in our office. So this is the top 20% of the #1 office in Northeast Ohio. And we pull them together and source, whether it's training ideas, cultural events, support for our training. These are the folks that lead a lot of our training, which you'll hear about more and more this evening. But it's really a tremendous opportunity for us as an organization to stay plugged in and ensure that we are delivering on our promise to help agents build bigger businesses, instead of just serving ourselves as a leadership team or serving the owners as an ownership group. We have to be accountable to what the agents want and need. And so you'll probably note that Colleen is on this year's Agent Leadership Council. And actually, I don't have the slide in yet, Joe, to show off you, but Joe is going to be on next year's Agent Leadership Council. And so it's a very, very powerful thing that we do that you will not find in other brokerages, right? That level of two-way communication from the agents to the ownership and leadership. But also, these are the folks that are on the front lines of helping our agents, right? In terms of training and education, support, mentoring, shadowing. These are the folks that we steer a lot of our growing agents into for that level of development. I'll pause there for a second for any questions or comments from anybody in the room about anything that we've covered thus far. I'm either doing a really good job or a really bad job. I'm not sure. No. So one thing that's important to understand as you start to consider a career in real estate and also where you are going to be licensed and who you're going to work with is understanding, okay, there's 960 different offices. That sounds like a really challenging vetting process for me to go through to really understand where do I want to work, right? I would take that back. All real estate companies are going to fall into one of three primary models, right? And you see them on the screen right now. There's the dependent model, the independent model, and the interdependent model. So I'll talk a little bit about all of these because they all actually play a role in the history of Keller Williams. So since the modern era of real estate, which is the late 1800s, every brokerage operated as a dependent model, which is you as an agent work for me as a broker, right? I have all the money, I have all the leads, I have all the power, and then you are a sub-agent of mine to go out and work those leads, do those deals, and then when the deal goes to completion, there's a split. The most not normal one in a dependent model is going to be a 50-50, right? And we still see that today in a lot of the dependent brokerages. It's just a 50-50 split, right? There are obligations to be in the office at certain times. There's obligations to work certain leads or do certain types of deals at the behest of the broker. It looks and feels a lot like an employment situation. And this is actually in 1983 when Keller Williams started in Austin, Texas. This is how that broker trained. And what happened was the dependent model got outdated because over time, if I buy my first house with Joe and then I want to sell my house, well, I'm not going to Joe's broker to instigate the next deal. I'm going directly to Joe. And so as populations grew, as the number of homes being sold grew, and as the number of homes that somebody would buy and sell in their lifetime grew, the agent became much more valuable in the transaction than the broker. And so the independent model was born, which would be, I go up to Steve and I say, Steve, everybody loves working with you, man. They don't really care what brokerage you work for. So why don't you come work for me? I'll give you a real sweet deal and you just pay me an extra $1,500 a month and I'll stay out of your way. You don't have to come in, you don't have to do floor time, you don't have to do all this stuff that you don't like from your other brokerage, and I'll leave you alone. And the very first one of these was Remax, which started out in Austin, didn't start in Austin, Texas, but when they came to Austin, Texas, where it was a 100% company. You just paid $1,500 a month and you got to keep 100% of your commissions. And so this wiped out a lot of Gary Keller, our founder and CEOs, a lot of the Keller Williams agents from that office. And so then he brought together the remaining agents and had a conversation about how to create a real estate company that no one would ever want to or have to leave. And that's the foundation of our culture. And so things you're going to hear about tonight, like a focus on training and education, opportunities to share in the profit of the company, transparency with the ownership and leadership of the company around how money is spent, the idea of this agent leadership council to give agents a voice, that all came out of that initial reaction, that initial liquidation of talent due to the independent brokerage. And so the interdependent model is the one that we operate on, where agents and owners or agents and leaders are partners. They both have stake in the company. There's opportunities for people beyond just selling more houses or earning a different split, and really driving the first item of our belief system, which is a win-win, right? So as you might hear about other brokerages, or you might have friends or family that work for other companies, all brokerages are going to slot into one of these three. And it's important to understand that the evolution was from dependent to independent to interdependent. And so we believe that we're operating on the highest form of a brokerage evolution that there is today. And if there's anything after that, we'll be sure to get there as well, because it will be important for our agents for us to be there. So that's the last 100 years of real estate in about 4.5 minutes. So if you weren't coming for a history lesson, you got one as a bonus. But I think it's important to understand that everything that we do as an organization is very intentional and is with the backdrop of doing it for agents and alongside agents and in partnership with the agents. Does that make sense? Excellent. So in addition to that, it is important to understand that everybody in this room is new or is going to be new. And so who you're in business with is really important. Now, you've heard me talk about this idea that we're the #1 office in Northeast Ohio. Nobody sells more units. Nobody has more agents. Nobody does more volume. That's really awesome. But why is that important to you? Well, it's only important if we're in a culture where you can leverage that for your help, right? For your success. So yeah, when you go on your first listing appointment, or you're sitting down and doing a buyer consultation for the first time, it will become apparent to your client, either in that moment or a moment thereafter, that this is the first time you're doing this. And there's, every agent in the room, whether they've been in the business for 3 years or 17, they had a first deal at one time too. The power of this organization is that when your client asks you, what are you going to do to help them buy, sell, or invest in real estate, if you haven't done it before, you can talk about all of the other agents that work in our office who are available to help you. You'll talk about your productivity coach, you'll talk about our training calendar, and you'll talk about the idea of bringing to bear the largest real estate company and most successful real estate company in Northeast Ohio to help them buy or sell, right? And so at some point in the conversation, you'll have to talk about why you can get it done. And initially, and then eventually, and then always, you'll talk about this company as a resource to you, and more importantly, a resource to your customers and clients. Does that make sense? Excellent. So as I've said, this is through the third quarter of 2021. We number one office in Northeast Ohio. We will update this in about 18 days time to do it for the entire calendar year and put that number of billion with a B on there. When it comes to training, right? Mentioned a lot about training. That is, that's where it all begins and ends as far as I'm concerned. We offer anywhere from 12 to 20 different training opportunities outside of your coaching program every month, right? And so if you've read or heard anything about real estate in the past 2 years or even the past 10 years, and it is that it is moving faster and that the market is changing more quickly than it ever has, right? The acceleration of change is at an all-time high. And so two very important things to understand when it comes to the training that we offer here as a company. Number one, it's going to be most relevant to the market of the moment, right? And that means that whenever there is less inventory and every single deal that you try to get done is going into multiple offers and you're competing with 12 to 25 other agents on every house you're trying to sell, we're going to stand up training and education and support around winning in multiple offers, right? The playbook that we run is informed by the market first and foremost, and then by the agents, right? So agents will raise their hand and say, this is what I need, or this is how I need it, and this is where I'm struggling. And we will stand up a training on that. It'll show up on the January training calendar or February or whenever it's relevant. Now, the second really important part is that it's not going to be me or likely any other member from the leadership team showing up to provide that training. What we're going to do is we're going to identify the individual or individuals who are succeeding with that very thing that our agents are struggling with. Taking more listings, winning in multiple offers, best buyer intake process, whatever it is. And we're going to work with them to create a training for our agents. So it's really important to understand that you're not learning from somebody who sold their last house in 1999, right? No one's reading from a training catalog put out by Keller Williams Realty International. Everything that we do for our agents here locally is also led by local agents in the market. So you're learning from the very best, and you're learning from those individuals that are succeeding in the place where you're struggling. And I will go as far, and I'll open it up to anybody else who has an opinion on the training, but that is I've never experienced that in any other industry. My background in nonprofits or corporate America or private companies. And I know that when we ask our agents what has the biggest impact on their business, where do they see themselves growing the most, it's from those trainings, right? And it's from the relationships born with other agents out of those trainings. So I'll pause there because I know that's a lot to take in, but does that register in the idea of who's leading the conversation and what we're focused on? Excellent. Any questions before we move on to coaching? All right, here we go. So coaching, you're going to hear the word coaching a lot as part of the Keller Williams Keller Williams ecosystem. One thing that I will say is that we do coaching a little bit differently than even the other Keller Williams offices, right? So whenever you're interviewing with other brokerages, not if but when, you're going to hear about mentorship programs for your first 3 deals. They're going to talk about new agent training as it relates to, getting you up and running for the first 2 months. We know that your first 3 deals could be 3 really easy deals, right? They could be cash buyers with no inspections that close in 2 weeks. If your training program is only supporting a finite number of deals, we could be setting you up for a pretty hard reality if you get a tough one on your 4th deal. The other thing is that we know that there's so much that goes into this business beyond just doing the deal, right? We always say that when you get a career in real estate, you actually have 2 jobs. The first one is lead generation, finding your business. And the second one is doing that business, right? And so our coaching program is for 12 months. It's in a group coaching format, and it's led by an individual in this office, Eric Akbar, who's been with the company for 5 years, who's been selling real estate since he was investing in real estate for the past 15 years, and is still active in the market right now. So you see that sort of qualifier of he's succeeding in this market and has built a business over time. So when he's coaching you through how to succeed in this market and how to build a business, it's coming from someone who's not just reading a scripture, but really living it. And the coaching program is for 12 months because we know that your first 3 months, you might not have any deals. And the next 3 months, you'll probably have 1 or 2. And then the 3 months after that, for the first time, you're going to have multiple deals under contract at the same time. And as you evolve as an agent, you're going to have different needs. Another really great part of the coaching program is that it's a cohort format. So it's very likely that some of the other people in this room, if they get licensed around the same time, are going to be participating in coaching with you. What else is great? The other great thing is that there's somebody who got licensed 10 months ago and has had 6 or 7 deals that's going to be in the room as well. And so that cohort model allows us to learn from one another, right? To get a faster startup time than anyone else because we're able to learn from our peers' mistakes or maybe get advice from them about when things really started to turn on for them, which is why on average, an agent closes a deal inside their first 120 days with our company, and it takes their first listing in the 150 days. Different than any other, even Keller Williams office, this is all at no cost to you as an agent. So we believe in this idea of a long-term relationship, right, with long-term people. And when we talk about building a business, we're not talking about doing something for 18 months and then doing something else, right? We talk a lot about business building as a company. And so if we're really committed to that, we're going to make the investment in you, hey, Linda, as an agent for the long term. Right? Because to be in relationship with you for a couple of years is one thing, but to be in relationships with, Jake, 17 years with the company, Colleen, soon to be 3, Joe, 3, soon to be 4, Colleen, 3, 4, 3. We're looking at what does it look like to be in relationship and in business with people for 10, 20, 30 years. And so to make the investment in ensuring you have a great first year of real estate, you absolutely have a great second year real estate. If we can't solidify that second part, it's going to be, or first part, it's going to be really hard to deliver on the second part. So we'll talk a little bit about how the coach is motivated and obligated to deliver for you, but know that this is not just a classroom setting thing, right? Because real estate, as any licensed person in the room will tell you, does not happen on normal business hours, right? Which is why it is so inviting from a dual career format sometimes. But the first time you write a contract, you're probably going to want somebody else's eyeballs on it. That's going to be your coach. He's gonna have you send him a PDF of the contract, and he's gonna go through and hit it with the red pen and say, you forgot to check the box that this is gonna be financing, or, you didn't fill out this portion right. So that when you're putting that forward, right, you're trying to put the best foot forward for your client. You're doing it with the advice and support of somebody, with decades of experience in real estate, which is really powerful to helping agents not only learn the right way to do things, but for them to win sooner, right? Left to our own devices, it will just be the luck of the draw. But with that level of support, we start to get into earlier and earlier success. The sooner you have your first deal, the more deals you can have in your first year. The better your first year is, the better your second year will be. Any questions about the coaching program? All right. So the next thing that we'll talk about, I'll actually go to the whiteboard for this one, because I think it is very appropriately contextualized against everything else that we've talked about here tonight. So we have this idea, as I mentioned, that our job as a company at Keller Williams Greater Metropolitan is to support you as an agent. Marker. So we do that in a very specific and focused way. The first thing that you heard us talk about tonight is this idea of culture, right? This is who we are, what we do, how we do it, the words we use, the way that we treat each other, and this idea that this company is built by agents and for agents, right? The culture, first and foremost, informs all of the decisions that we will make organizationally, right? All the way back to the way that Gary Keller changed the company as a result of his agents being in relationship with him. And this, once you have a really solid foundation of culture, right? You heard about how the agents that work for this company that are the ones that drive the training, either from an ideation standpoint or from an execution standpoint, which then in turn drives our culture. From a support standpoint, we talked about the leadership team, the ALC, your productivity coaches. The other one that I always feel weird putting up here, but is actually a great source of support, is our Facebook group. So it's of all the Facebook groups I've ever been in, it's the only one that's actually active or valuable. So there's 450 agents in there, and there's questions all the way from, I have this going on with one of my listings, or I'm struggling with this about a client, and you'll see all sorts of advice and support coming through there, all the way down to, I need a guy who does gutters in Maple Heights, right? So all of those resources that every agent in this company has can be brought to bear with a few clicks. As new agents, there's also tremendous opportunities to get into real estate activities earlier, because you'll see folks posting, hey, I need somebody to hold this open house. Hey, I'd like somebody to run a buyer on Saturday because I have a wedding or something. Hey, I need someone to sit on an inspection for me, right? How great to learn the inspection process before it's the time that you've got to walk through with your client and answer all the questions that they have. So those opportunities live there as well. So now if we have this values aligned, well-trained, well-supported group of people, the cherry on top is really the technology, right? And this is going to be everything from your database, right? Your contacts, your CRM, your sales pipeline, your marketing, your website, your consumer, like a downloadable personalized consumer app that every agent in this company has, all the way through how you get paid. Happens as a result of technology, right? And I could probably spend the next 45 minutes going through all the technology that's offered here as a company. What we know is technology is ever pervasive and should be our first piece of leverage, right, in any business. And so when we look at technology, We look at this whole suite of opportunities, and you have some paperwork in your folders about it. As you start to grow a real estate business, right? As you have a need, which your first one is going to be getting everybody in a database and then communicating to them regularly that you're a realtor. Once you have a few deals, then you need a sales pipeline. Once you sell something, you're going to need some just sold marketing, right? You're going to need to tell the world about your success. The reason that I approach technology as like the cherry on top is that we have to get through these first three. We've got to get you into activity. We got to get deals closed before that technology becomes valuable to you. And when you hear me talk about your coach helping you stay focused on the right activities that are going to generate business, I know if I was left to my own devices, I would design and redesign my website. And I would want to really nail what my system for doing a deal was before I even had a deal, right? We can get distracted by the shiny objects. And so what you're going to be coached to is business building. And then as that business starts to develop, it's the first piece of leverage that you will have is technology, right? Is installing systems in your business so that it is repeatable and scalable. But know that every single technology need that you could have as an agent building your business from your first deal to your 1000th deal is available here at no additional cost to any agent. Keller Williams Realty International made the decision about 5 years ago to invest in creating a proprietary technology platform that would protect the data of every agent and every client that we serve. And so everything that we offer organizationally from a technology standpoint is also informed by what agents need, right? There's no superfluous technology. There's nothing unnecessary. There's no waste. So when it comes to that, and when you talk to other brokerages, you're going to hear them talk about their partnership with Booge or how they use Boomtown or they're doing this or that or the other thing. Just know that our decision as an organization to do it as a proprietary set was to protect the idea that no one's ever going to come in and buy KW Command, right? Boomtown, Booge, name your other third-party CRM that's adopted by a local office. Those are all up for grabs through acquisition, which means that your leverage and your resource could very quickly either become more expensive or all of your clients' data could go away. Yeah.
Can you add YouTube to support?
Oh yeah, good call. So all of these awesome trainings that I talked about, they're all recorded, right? So let's say you're starting out as a dual career agent, or let's say you're just starting out and you've got an opportunity that's going to take you out of the room whenever we have one of our trainings. Everything's recorded and posted on our YouTube page the very next day so that everyone still has access to that information, right? Because of what happened over the last 2 years as it relates to the pandemic and everything that came with that, we've gotten much more technologically savvy. And so we have every training that we've done for the last 2 years is on our YouTube page. You guys can all check that out if you want to try before you buy, so to speak. Just go to YouTube and search Keller Williams Greater Metropolitan Training, and you'll see everything from the last investor mastermind that we did to help our agents who are investors or support primarily investors get more educated on their craft, to every weekly sales meeting that we do and what we have going on as a company. So great. Thank you for that, Colleen. So encourage you to check that one out. Any questions about any of this? Make sense? Feel right? Seems sequential? Good. Good, good, good. All right. Oops. I'll just shut the screen off. There we go. All right. So now that you've listened to me talk all about all these things that I know are important and I know are going to be critical to your success, we're going to talk about what most of you want to hear about, which is how does the money work, right? So real estate is a 100% commission-based industry. Switch my colors here. And so when it comes to real estate, it's important to understand how the money works. So I know some people are in classes, some people are about to get started with classes. So we'll start all the way at the top. When a transaction takes place, when a home sells, a commission is paid based on the value of that property, whatever the sales price is. That's then split between the buyer's agent and the seller's agent. And that's called gross commission income. So one side of a transaction in our office is on average $5,000, right? So that's what comes into a brokerage, and then you're going to hear, and there's some information in your packet about the split. So then there is a split between you and our brokerage. 64% goes to you, which in this transaction is $3,200. And 36% will go to Keller Williams, which in this transaction is $1,800. Now, this $1,800 is actually 6% to Keller Williams Realty International. That's their international franchisor. And then $1,500 to Keller Williams Greater Metropolitan, which is 30%. So you sell on average a $200,000 house, generates $5,000 in commission. That splits $3,200 and $1,800 between you and the brokerage. Now, Keller Williams is unique in that we are a capping organization. So that means that in a given year, there is a finite amount of money that you will ever pay into the brokerage. So this portion to Keller Williams Greater Metropolitan caps at $18,000. And this portion that you pay to Keller Williams Realty International caps at $3,000. Such that when you are capped and you do a transaction that generates $5,000 in commission, you get 100% of that until your anniversary with the company, at which point you would reset, as we say, and start contributing again. Now this happens, take an average deal, somewhere between 12 and 14 deals. So a little more than one a month will get you to the point where you can then earn 100% of your commission. Now we have well over 100 agents annually who are hitting their cap and earning 100% commission. For agents in their first year in the business, we probably have 5 to 10% of the agents who start their career with in real estate in their first year that will cap in their first year. Most agents who are doing real estate full-time and are focused on the tasks and priorities that drive their business success are capping in their second and third years and every year beyond that. And the reason for that is as you enter into this industry, we'll look at your first 3 months, the next 3 months, and the next 3 months. As I said, when you have to find the business, find somebody who wants to buy a home, then find them a home that they would be willing to buy, and then do the entire transaction. We always talk about how your business is about 90 days out, right? The phone call you make today to a for sale by owner or to an old friend who might be interested in investing in real estate or buying a new house is probably going to show up as a paycheck in about 90 days, right? Now, some of you are going to get licensed and your sister-in-law is going to be like, oh, I was waiting for you to get licensed. We're ready to list our home. And you're going to have a live deal within 18 hours of being licensed. Know that no matter what, we're going to, we want you to do deals as quickly as possible. As soon as the ink doesn't even have to be dry on the license, we're going to help you get that deal done. But realistically, most agents don't do a deal in the first 3 months. It's important to understand that, because if you don't, you might get 45 days in and feel like you're way off track, right? What normally shows up is about 1 to 3 deals in months 4 through 6. And then months 7 through 9 for an agent who is focused on the right activities, who's consistent with their lead generation, their lead follow-up is doing 2 to 4. And then I always say, once you get into months 10 through 12, It's really a choose your own adventure journey, and then even beyond that, because the work that you do here in month 0 shows up as business here, right? And 4 through 6 shows up here, and then 7 through 9 shows up there as well, and beyond, right? So there's a reason why, for anybody who is in this industry more than 3 years, they're in this industry for a long time. The fallout rate organizationally happens in the first 18 months. And for the folks who focus on the right activities consistently, will start to reap the benefit of that towards the end of year 1 and then into year 2 and 3 and beyond. And so it's important to understand that your first 3 months in real estate are your hardest 3 months, right? And that's why we're focused on coaching and support and coaching to the right activities and getting you into the room and into a cohort with people who are also doing it, that are here at month 10 while you're at month 0, so that you can see and hear and feel what success looks like and the way that it shows up. And make no mistake, all of the work that you do in these months starts to pay off in months 13 through forever, right? So that's why I say, we have about 10% of new agents who will cap in their first year. If you get to 7, 8, 9 deals, the work that you do to get to those first half dozen deals actually yields the next dozen deals, because just because somebody wasn't ready today doesn't mean that they won't be ready in 18 months. Doesn't mean that they won't think about you when they think about real estate, which turns into opportunity. All right, I got a little bit of a rabbit hole here. Any questions about the way the money flows? One thing I'll say is that if you don't hit these numbers, if you don't get to your cap, you don't owe any additional money. There's no, at the end of the first year, you owe us $9,000. There's none of that. Like at the very worst, you're going to have a 64-36 split, right? Which is better than any dependent shop that you'll find, and well worth the training and support that comes with it. But as when you cap, we're going to celebrate it. We're going to make a big deal out of it. You're going to have fun. And what's interesting is, let's say you cap in 9 months. When we see that, we see this massive hockey stick in somebody's business, like a big climb, because they get really excited about this prospect of 100%. And so they end up generating a lot of business, right? And that spins a flywheel, which is why I say if you cap 1 year, you will cap every single year after that. And the data definitely reflects that. 99% of the people who cap in 2021 will cap in 2022. And we'll do more business as a result of it. Last call for questions on this math. Okay. So that is the way the money works. Now, is there anybody in the room who holds any other professional licenses? Or anybody that's a registered nurse or belong to a union or anything like that? Okay. So it's important that we also talk about the fees associated with being a realtor, right? Some of us may be employed in some way, shape, or form where there aren't professional certifications or licenses required to do business. Real estate's different, right? You are licensed by the state and held accountable by the state. So there are fees of being a realtor. That means anywhere you go and anything you do is going to, or from a real estate standpoint, you're going to be required to belong to the multiple listing service, belong to a board of realtors, and keep a license in good standing. There's costs associated with that. As I mentioned, we want to be transparent about what you're getting into here as a company. So anywhere you go, any brokerage you work for, you are going to have to belong to the multiple listing service. This is where all homes are listed. This is where you get information that makes you smarter than your clients and are able to bring them opportunities that are listed by other agents. This costs about $440 a year. To belong to the multiple listing service, you have to belong to a board of realtors, right? That's a local professional organization. There are several in Northeast Ohio. There is Lorain County, Medina County, Akron, Cleveland, Lake Geauga, and a number of other ones. We belong to all of them so that you can choose the one that either is most relevant to you based on your location. Remember, we're all over Northeast Ohio. Or what most people choose is the most affordable option, right? Which is Medina at this moment, which is about $600 a year, give or take 10 bucks. And then from a licensing standpoint, you have to maintain a good standing with your license, which costs $182 every 3 years. Every 3 years, you will have to renew your license. It requires 30 hours of continuing education. You can get all of that through the trainings available in our office. You don't have to go buy it somewhere else. You don't have to do anything like that. Our training calendar is going to fulfill that over the course of a 3-year period. But it's $182 every 3 years and on your first birthday after being licensed. But all told, right, you're in for about $1,100 a year to be a licensed realtor in Northeast Ohio. That's going to be anywhere you go. In addition to needing better markers, there are at Keller Williams, Greater Metropolitan, we have a monthly fee, right? One thing I'll mention about the cap, everybody in the company has the same cap and split, right? It's an important cultural component for us because it allows everybody to be more open and more honest, because you will not have to compete for a better split. You will not have to negotiate a better split. I will never spend a minute of my time worrying about what somebody's split is, because with the opportunity to earn 100% of your commissions, we can make that split whatever we want. And the total split for all the agents in the company and all the money generated is almost a 90-10. It's 89-11. So that means that those agents who are capping and taking advantage of it are taking big advantage of it, right? And also know that, like, you might be sitting in here saying, I don't know if I want to sell $1 billion worth of houses, right? You don't have to. We've got a range of agents who participate for a range of reasons, right? Joe's mother is still selling real estate in her early 80s, and
No, late
but she sells 4 or 5 houses a year. I have no doubt that Helene can take her license and her experience and go get a better split somewhere else, right? But it's the culture and the community and the training that keeps her here to sell 4 or 5 homes to her friends and family. Although she can't sell to her family much anymore, since every single person in the family, she's forced to get a real estate license. But, it's important to know that, so every agent in the office, right, from, Jake, who's been with this office for 17 years, he has the same split and cap. And then everybody pays the same monthly fee as well, right? I'm a licensed realtor. I hang my license here. I'm the CEO of the company. I still pay $67 a month to work here. And that's another important cultural component, is that everybody is on the same footing as an organization, which creates some really unique opportunities for relationships to form. So what does my $67 a month go to? Well, it doesn't go to put gas in my car or pay for my haircuts. I'll explain that, Joe. So 17 of those $67 a month go to cover errors and omissions insurance, right? So if you're going to be a practicing realtor, you need to have errors and omissions insurance. Some of the smaller brokerages in Northeast Ohio do not offer that, so you would have to procure your own. What we do is we took the cost of insuring the organization and all the agents in it. That gave us a total number. We divided it by the number of agents that we expected to have. We divided that by 12. So everybody pays an equal share every month out of the year. And everybody is equally insured, right? And whether you're, the guy down the hall who does 500 units a year, or you're Helene who does 5 units a year, right? We understand equal risk and liability with any transaction. And so that's why we break it out that way. $25 goes to local technology, right? So we provide 2 different digital signature softwares, both Dotloop and DocuSign, as well as every agent in this office is enrolled in a program called Showing Time, which is a very, very powerful tool. So when you get a listing and when Linda gets a listing and Steve wants to show it, he doesn't have to call Linda. She puts the dates and times that it's available to be seen. He goes in and says, my client can see it at this time, clicks a button, boom, you're scheduled, right? And so that has become table stakes for doing business in a very fast market, right? And so Showing Time, if you were to go get it on your own, is about $55 a month. When we get an enterprise account, we can save our agents a lot of money, so we do. Same with Dotloop and DocuSign. Either one of those are going to be $19 a month as an individual. And so you get all 3 of those things, $95 worth of technology for transaction purposes for $25 a month. And then the Keller Williams Realty International tech, right? Everything that I said, your CRM, your database, your marketing, your website, your app, all of those things that Keller Williams provides, every agent gets access to those at $25 a month. So everything that you pay for in terms of a monthly fee, it's not a desk fee, right? We're not just charging you to work here. It all has an allocation on our balance sheet income statement, which is, if you wanted to audit that, you could. Every agent in our company has access to our financials. That's a way that we're held accountable by the agents and the Agent Leadership Council to ensure that we're not, I'm not flying first class on the company's dime. Every dollar that comes in has a place that it goes. Now, Joe, you brought up that you actually pay $72 a month. And that's because if you choose to pay by credit card, there is a transaction fee. Yeah. So, but you can pay, we have people that drop off a check. We have folks that pay 6 months in advance. And, there's all sorts you can just say, hey, I had my first closing, take $804 off my commission and just put it towards my next 12 months bill. Any way, shape or form that you want to do it, you can. But know that this is it. There's no transaction fees charged to the agent. There's no quarterly marketing assessment. There's no annual fees. $67 a month, right? So that's $804 a year plus the about $1,100 over here. For $1,900, you get to be a licensed realtor and a member of the #1 office in Northeast Ohio. So we saw average transaction is going to put about $3,200 into your bank account. So one deal more than covers you being a licensed realtor for the next year. Questions, comments, concerns, smart remarks, or physical threats related to the fee structure? Yeah. Physical threats.
Yeah, that one.
Okay.
I got a knife in me. I'm just joking. For the splits, how often does that change? The 64-36.
It has not changed in the last 19 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not for me. It's like what you said. We're going to be getting trained by a lot of veterans and stuff.
Yeah.
And typically veterans leave when those things change.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're all coming into this really new and doesn't affect us. We don't know new from old structure, but when things become not favorable for old veterans to stay, then what?
Well, keep in mind that, the longer you're in the business, the more business you have the opportunity to do, right? So if I am, doing $10 million worth of business, right? Let's say my average commission rate for a side is 2.75%, right? That's the average for our market center. So that's $275,000 of gross commission income, of which $21,000 is all that comes out, right? So that is a 91.9 from a split standpoint. So as you grow your business, you get a split that's untouchable by any competitor because it wouldn't make sense for anyone else to give you a 95.5 or
Right.
a 98.2, which some of our agents end up having. And, you'll see our most experienced agents are capping in 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. And so like, it just becomes, it's real money, but as your business grows, it becomes a little bit more of a rounding error than it is necessarily like the bulk of the transaction. So because that total contribution never changes, your split just gets better. And honestly, when you're dealing with agents who are operating at that level and are veterans, like some in the room, when they're looking at it from a business standpoint, and just observe it as a fixed cost, right? It's just a cost of doing business. And if I were to go somewhere else, I'd have a variable cost of doing business because I wouldn't cap.
Makes sense.
It's a great question, though.
How often do those change?
You've been here 4 years. Have we, the monthly fees? We ever change those?
Ever since I've been here, they've been 67.
So at least 4 years, it stayed 67. And we don't have any plans to adjust for inflation. So it's, it's something that, we want to keep the cost of doing business low so that we can be in business with more people, right? Because the more and better people that we're in business with, the more and better our culture becomes. Great questions. All right, so now let's talk about, so we've got a range of folks in the room. What does it actually look like to be licensed? What does it actually look like to go through this process? So if you have not started your real estate classes, if you have not started your real estate classes, you can sign up at Lorain County Community College, Lakeland, Davis University, or we have a partnership with Hondros, which is the largest real estate education provider in the state of Ohio, to get you a discount on your classes. If you've already signed up or already started classes and we didn't get you that discount, I apologize. Don't throw anything at me. But if you're interested in that, that'll be part of our follow-up tonight to make sure that everyone has that. You are in no way, shape, or form obligated to be in relationship with us as a brokerage is using that. Consider it fair trade for you being here this evening. Once you are in classes, there's 120 hours of education that will either fly by or feel like 1,200 hours of education, depending on how long it's been since you've been in a classroom. You can do it online and do it all virtually. You can do it live in person. You can do it, you can do live classes online, right? So there's various options available inside of that Hondros platform. Once you have completed all your classes, whether you've done that at Hondros or any other, you'll either then need your certificates of completion or your transcripts. You'll need to fill out an application with the Ohio Division of Real Estate. To apply to take the Ohio Division of Real Estate salesperson exam, you need a sponsoring brokerage, right? So for some of you, you are towards the end of your process and you are trying to identify that sponsoring brokerage and who you want to be in business with. If you have not yet started classes, but you want to be in real estate, I would encourage you to get underway, right? Get about halfway through your classes, then start that process. Because once you complete your classes, you'll apply to the state with a sponsoring brokerage, which can be us. And then it takes 3 to 4 weeks for the state to process your application and to open up a place for you, a seat for you to test it. Right. So if you wait until you're done with classes to select your brokerage, you're just delaying the amount of time before you sit for your exam. Now, a month, having to wait a month to take your final exam can be a little bit nerve-wracking because you're like, well, I have all this information. I want to go take the test tomorrow. To help with that, we lead a weekly study session every Monday night at 6 o'clock, except for this week because we're in here. It's on Tuesday. But it'll be, every Monday at 6 o'clock, we lead a call where we work practice problems, talk about concepts that are going to be tested on the exam, talk about test prep. I know, I think the The last test I had taken prior to getting licensed as a Realtor was about 12 years prior. So, you know, you might need to dust off some of the old test taking tips to not be crippled by anxiety. We focus on that, right? You know, like you'll see in our training calendar, we try and train and teach to the whole agent, right? Business, sales, personal, professional, all those things. We do the same thing from the test taking standpoint. We know that if you have a good strategy going in, you can get yourself a few more easy points, which could make the difference, right? We'll tell you, if don't Google, you know, ODRE exam statistics, because you'll see that like, oh, like only 1 in 3 people pass on their first try. I can tell you that with our organization, with the resources we provide, it's more like 7 in 10, 70% pass, right? The reason is that you're going straight from class to sponsorship to test, and you have a bridge of some additional training and resources. So then once you pass your exam, we're gonna do paperwork, we're gonna get you into our system, and then we're either gonna get you enrolled in your coaching program or plugged in with a real estate team if you're interested in being a part of a team inside of our brokerage. But those are all things that you can decide as you're getting licensed. You don't have to decide those today. And we're going to help you choose whatever path you think serves you best, right? So teams are a big thing in real estate. I know we didn't actually cover them tonight. I need to throw a slide in there about that. But, you know, Joe is a team leader, a team owner, as is Colleen. So they have agents that work for them on their real estate teams and have a different commission structure and split with them, respective of what they provide. Most people, you know, feel one way or another. Here's what I'll tell you. The top 10% of agents in their first year, whether they're on a team or they're an individual agent, make the same amount of money. Same is true for year 2, right? So it's really about knowing yourself, right? When I joined this brokerage, I joined a team because I knew that I wanted to be plugged in and have somebody at arm's reach and have some really tight camaraderie right out of the gate, because I was new to the city at the time. Some people have have a strong existing network, have sales experience, and all the other things that build their confidence and knowing they can, you know, I don't need a team around me. Awesome. What I can tell you is that if you're in the top 10%, it's not going to make a difference, right? At the end of the day. And I always use top 10% because people always want to talk about averages, but who wants to know about an average? Who's planning to be average? Nobody, right? We're all shooting for the mountaintop. Hey, Linda.
Okay, about the team.
Yeah.
Who built the team? Just individual, somebody licensee decide to be the team leader and to find the people to be the team, or?
Yeah, so we have a few requirements for being a team leader. You have to cap in consecutive years, right?
So team leaders kind of called associate broker, right?
No, not necessarily. Now,
necessarily.
we do have several agents who have their broker's license and just practice as realtors, not as brokers. From the team standpoint, you don't need to have a broker's license. We have requirements inside of our organization through our policies and guidelines that require a certain level of performance over a certain amount of time. And, you know, and then investment into certain elements of support, whether it be a transaction coordinator or full-time administrative assistant, such that we're not, you know, setting you up or anyone who would want to associate with you up for a tough road ahead without having those elements in place. And so it's something that, you know, I spend a good amount of my time with our top agents, helping them sort through. I would say that most agents are, you know, 2, 3, 4 years in the business before they start to make that decision, because they want to have a level of mastery such that they can be a resource for anybody that works for them.
Which means not immediately,
Not immediately.
not like a new agent, just,
No,
okay.
no. A new agent would, you know, let's say you get licensed, you know, if that is something that you eventually want to do, myself or your coach or both of us are going to, you know, build a path to get there. But starting day one, we wouldn't be able to support you as a team owner just because,
What about team member?
oh, team member, absolutely.
Anytime?
Anytime,
Okay.
anytime. So as I said, like you don't have to make that decision right now. If you come into the company and you want to be an individual agent and you find that it's a tougher go, and that you want the support and structure and more accountability, typically is what it shows up as for people on teams. You can deviate into a team. Like you have not you have not made your final decision when you join the company. And the same goes for joining a team. We have a lot of agents who join teams. They're there for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and then find that they're ready to branch off and do it on their own, right? And once they have the structure and accountability and base in place, and we have people who've been on teams for decades. So I mean, everything is an option and everything's available here. And myself, the rest of the leadership team, another agent who's been in your shoes, or your productivity coach is going to be somebody who's going to be able to help you make those decisions and really build a path forward.
One more question, continue on that. Which way is better for training? For somebody really new in this business and then also no network, and new, like you said, just move here.
Yeah.
So for that kind of situation, who won you?
Yeah, well, I think that,
The team will pick, right?
yeah, but
It's not your pick.
Colleen, do you,
Can I interject?
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Having a team, I had someone on my team that went on her own now, but she was from Buffalo and knew nobody here.
Yeah.
And she was with my team for 2.5 years, and she's like, I couldn't have done this with, even though her husband was born and raised here, limited in network and whatnot, but that really helped her being part of camaraderie and training and whatnot and resource. And she did amazing for 2 years.
Right, that's my situation. So I'm asking.
So I'm just giving an example for someone that did move here.
Yeah, I'm a new,
did
I
not
just
know
moved here.
what to do.
I have nobody living in
Sure.
Ohio, just my husband and I. So,
I'm just putting in, Joe and I said the same thing, like
Yeah.
our suggestion, excuse me, Mike,
Yeah, no.
to be join a team.
yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
But there are people that do move here that, do not know anyone to make it. So it just goes back to what you feel you need.
Yeah.
So would you talk more about how the team works or
Yeah,
in the
absolutely.
future? Okay.
Absolutely,
Okay.
yeah. Well, here's what I'll say, like, and if you raise your hand and you say, hey, you know what, I'm interested in learning more about teams, or I'm interested in opportunities on teams, I'll make the introduction to, 3 or 4 different teams. So,
Okay.
because each one of them is operating with their own culture, their own support, their own training.
Right,
It's all additive to what we do as a company, right? So being on a team doesn't disallow you from participating in anything other than the productivity coaching, right?
right.
But when you're on a team, you can still attend all the trainings. We're still here as a leadership team and an agent leadership council to support you. So getting, without diving too deep into the concept of teams, know that each one of them runs a little bit differently.
Mm,
So for you, that, I might say, hey, one of these 3 teams is probably going to be a good fit.
yeah,
And then I'll make the introductions and you'll interview them, they'll interview you.
Yeah.
And where there's a good match, you then can have a business relationship.
sounds good.
Yeah. Great questions.
And also, Linda, I think it's important to admit to yourself
Mhm.
that you don't know what you don't know.
Right,
And
right.
that being in an organization like this, I came into this organization with 33 years of business experience. Already a network that was built over 33 years.
Right,
And I found myself not knowing what I didn't know. And to learn from people like Colleen and from Michael and from Carrie. And they can tell you, I call these guys almost every single day.
Mm,
Because I admitted to myself that I don't know what I don't know. I can honestly say that since I've taken over my team, I don't think any one of them have felt that they're not getting the information that they need, because they know they can either call myself or my partner, or they can call somebody here. They can go right to them instead of me.
mm.
And they do.
Yeah.
And
And we're excited to hear from them, right? I mean,
And
So
like
who's
my-
them? don't,
Oh, Carrie and Julia
sorry, I
and
came
Sierra.
late. so
Yeah,
sorry.
no, here,
Part of
I'll
the
throw
management
it back
team.
up. So
Yeah, yeah.
our leadership team,
Oh, okay.
right? So it's more than just me. This would be in pretty bad shape if it was just me. Thankfully, we have all these other people who are going to be resources to you in
Okay.
different ways, shapes, and forms. And maybe not every day, maybe not on every deal. Hopefully, our principal broker, you never have to talk to him, even though he's a lovely guy. So it usually means you're in a tough spot with the deal. But yeah, I mean, and that's our prime focus, right? Is serving the agents. And if we don't hear from Joe one day, we typically call him to make sure everything's okay.
And there are also people like Colleen around
Mm-hmm.
who have been in the business, who are tremendous mentors that you can lean on and talk to.
You're sweet. Thank
There's
you.
really no egos here.
You're sweet. Thank you.
Would you agree with that?
No, not at all.
There's really no egos here. I mean,
Everyone's
someone
willing
who's
to
been in the
share.
business for, for 17 years is more than willing to share what they've done to make themselves successful.
Right.
And I don't think you find, I've never been in any other brokerage, so I can't say that. I don't believe that it's like that everywhere.
It is.
I think
And
being
there's even
here,
people that sell more than me that I can go to, and everyone's willing to share and help out.
the culture here is,
Right, and
Tremendous.
it's all started from what Michael said about the front.
Mhm.
That's what would make different.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I was in the training hundreds, you feel like you had to be able to negotiate with other people about different percentages. That's a headache.
Yeah. 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 You're not.
You do not know what kind of skill you need, have to negotiate that.
Mm-mm.
So I like the idea that everybody's saying, but the
Mhm.
difference of your effort and then how much you work.
Bingo.
And then so nobody can jealous of that.
Yeah.
Right? I work 18 hours, somebody work 8 hours. It's not gonna be the same. But I like that idea that the all-time goal is the same, but the real amount is determined by you.
Yeah.
How much you
I
work.
really like the way you put that. I'm gonna be stealing that
Yeah.
line, Linda.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you nailed it. You nailed
That
it.
make everybody have no fear about, oh, what's my next person make? I mean, you're not working for this company, you work for yourself, right? So, and that's the good route,
Mhm.
yeah. I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
I will say one thing, getting back to your comment, I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
Steve.
Steve, veterans in the industry do not leave because of money. I will tell you that. Once you get going, I actually just took an ethics course today.
Yeah.
So this all just came true.
That's
Any
like
manager,
most
boss,
organizations,
broker
right?
you have, if they're not practicing ethical business standards in their industry, that's the reason they leave.
Yep.
Or if you've reached a ceiling and you don't have the training and the culture that are not there, that's the reason they leave. The money's gonna, if you're successful, you're gonna make it no matter where you go.
Right.
So that's, just note that it is, when you're new, that's something that is, prevalent and first thing, like what's the
Sure.
fee per month, what's my cut? I was there, I get it.
Right.
I started at Realty One, which doesn't even exist anymore. Really took half your paycheck no matter what, the minute you walked in the door. But after today, I mean, it was just really enlightening and it's true. So just something to think about once you get into it.
That's great. Thank you for that. So we've entered the time of just a free-for-all for questions in terms of anything that we didn't cover this evening that you were curious about, or anything that you've heard as a part of your classes, or anything else that you'd like to cover, anything you've heard about the industry that you'd like to cover.
How do you get an interview here?
So as you get into your classes, how to set up a time. The question was, how do I get an interview here? And you're doing everything that you have to by being here. You get enrolled in classes, and then when the time comes for sponsorship, we'll meet again, talk about your goals and opportunities with the company, and we'll be off to the races.
Okay.
You mentioned the study sessions on Monday nights.
Yeah.
Do those have a cost that goes
No.
along with that?
Oh, goodness, no.
Okay. And then is it
Because it's
just-
me leading them and you wouldn't pay.
And then also, you said the 12-month coaching, if you're a part of a team, that's not included,
Right.
but you said like other training was?
Yeah, so everything that we do as a company from a training standpoint is available to all agents. We do some things that are a little bit more specialized from time to time. I think I mentioned like the investor meetup or mastermind that we have. But there's nothing that you would not be allowed to attend from a training standpoint, 98% of the time, right? We might have a special training for agents that, you know, own teams, right? Well, that's not really going to be relevant to you, so you're not going to show up to that. But the productivity coaching is something that we fund as a company for new agents who are not on a team to make sure that they have a network of support in their first year. And since we're funding that as an organization, if you were to join a team, that becomes the responsibility of the team owner. But that doesn't necessarily mean that your team owner won't invest in you through productivity coaching, right? Colleen, I believe you did that as well, right?
It's a negotiation.
Everything's a negotiation. From us, yeah, from the team leader.
Yeah. So,
They could either eat the cost, split it with you, and that's something you would discuss with the team leader.
and some of our biggest and most robust teams have their own programs for coaching and accountability as well that would look and feel very similar and just be different in that way. Great question.
Thank you.
Anything else?
I heard about, there's something that you didn't mention yet, that's maybe too early for us to know, that referral thing, like a downline or something.
Oh, yeah.
What's
So that's actually not something that
It's
we,
orientation 201.
yeah, it's probably a 200 level course. Not to muddy the waters too much here at the end of the day, but here's what I'll say conceptually. You know, I mentioned when we were talking about one of the fundamental pieces of our culture is the opportunity for agents to share in the success of the company. And so we as an organization have something called profit share. The end of every month, we, all the money that comes in minus the expenses equals the profit. Every other brokerage in the world, that's where the party stops. The owners take that money and they do whatever they want with it because it's their profit. In our organization, we split that between the agents and the owners of the company. 48% goes to the agents, 52% goes to the owners. The way that profit share is distributed is based on who you invited or who helped grow the company. So anytime anybody joins our organization, they identify one person that was most responsible to introducing them to Keller Williams, or there's a reason that they are coming to Keller Williams. So that when you have success as an individual and are helping the organization to be profitable, that person who brought you to the organization would be rewarded for that. Now, there's, some, there's, calculus involved with how all that gets calculated, which we won't go through. Just know that our cultural commitment to the agents who help us grow our organization is to reward them with 48% of the profit of the company. So here
40% of the new person total production.
we can follow up more offline. I don't want to get into the guts of this because it can go a lot of different ways. Just know
But
that
one thing I want to know, if the person introduced me to about Keller.
Yeah.
And then I'm not belong to that person, right? I don't necessarily to go with that
no.
person. To go with that person team, right?
No. When you name an individual as your sponsor, as we call it, you have no obligation to them. They have no obligation to you,
Okay.
right? It is simple as like, some of you just being here tonight could be the reason that you would name somebody as a sponsor, and then they don't have to mentor you. You don't have to work for them. Nothing like that, right?
Yeah.
Just know that it is it's the spirit of the system is to reward people that help us grow our company.
There's also the notion that some new agents coming to Keller Williams think that part of their commission check goes to that profit share, and it does not. So
Right,
just
right.
note that.
It's a profit share.
Yeah.
Right.
It's common nowadays. It's a new trend for this, every kind of business, not just real estate.
Yeah, there's a larger movement about treating employees like stakeholders, right? I mean, you
Right.
see that all the way down to the coffee shops on West Sixth Street, right?
Right.
That are employee owned. This is something that our organization put in place in 1985. Almost $2 billion has been shared. And this market center is the fourth most profitable in the world. And we have shared with our agents in the last 12 months over $1.3 million in profit. So, it's a
That's a good system.
Last month was,
last month we were the #1 most
In the
profitable
world.
office in the world.
In the
So there's about
Yeah.
860 Keller Williams offices, and ours is the #1 for the month of November, and was #1 in the month of October as well. Who knows, December might shake out. We could sneak into the #3 spot for the year.
As long as the top 1%.
Yeah, it's
No
a,
difference, right?
yeah, I mean, there's only about 7 or 8 offices worldwide that will share over $1 million a year.
That makes sense, it's motivation. To
Well,
people who have expertise,
Yeah, and it creates, again, it's like all of these things build on each other, right? So, transparency of the company ensures that the owners aren't pumping up superfluous expenses. I'm not, as I always joke, like I'm not putting gas in my car. The company doesn't pay for, my lease on my vehicle or anything like that, because that dilutes the profitability of the company, which then dilutes the promise of profit share.
There's so much opportunity to make that money yourself.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the opportunities are
right?
there.
Comment.
Yeah.
I just want to say for everybody that's thinking about coming, it really is great. Like, I'm new and they're really not exaggerating like on the support. Like, granted, I have nothing else to compare it to because I haven't been to another brokerage, but like the support, the coaching, like once you get your license and you just like, you don't know what to do, you're ready, you just like, I got my license. And it's like the support, like we call the office, or you have like, I do have like something, a deal that I'm working on. Eric is great. Like any questions you have, like I feel really confident that like when I follow the things that he tells me to do, like I actually get the lead. And it's like when I don't, I'm slacking because whatever going on in my life or something like that, then it gets a little slow. But when I actually like follow the plan, like I'm talking about the time management, which I have a very big problem with. They help you with that. Like it really is like great. Like the culture from my experience so far, although I am new, so I don't know, but I don't know where I would be or what I'm pretty sure I would like be lost if I didn't have the support that I have here.
Yeah.
And then one more thing just to speak on, I went to Lakeland, and nothing against Lakeland, it's a great school or whatever, but I feel like it was great. Everybody learns different. I took the grammar course at Hondros, and I feel like if I didn't take that, I would have failed my first time. But that, along with whatever I learned at Lakeland, I feel like Hondros contributed a lot to the reason why I passed my exam. And all I took was the grammar course because I had already went to Lakeland, but I didn't feel confident or prepared. So I just spent the extra money and took the grammar course, and I feel like it helped me like tremendously. So that's just my recommendation. Unless you already want to Hondros, I feel like the grammar course, if you don't feel confident, could like really help you that.
That's awesome. Yeah, and you're about 45 days with the company, right?
Yeah, it's not, I think it's just about 45 days. I thought it
Yeah.
was 2 months, but I don't think it's been 2 months yet.
And you've got one deal going right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, to the numbers that we put up around, how the business shows up, about 45 days in, doing the things that the coach recommends, generates the business, that'll close sometime in January, right?
Probably, I don't.
Yeah, we'll get it there.
If they, well, that's if the person accepts the offer though.
Right.
So.
Right.
But then, and they tell you like, how to get leads and like how to, it's really great. So far, I feel really supported and I'm happy that I chose Keller Williams.
Excellent. Thank you for that.
Sounds good. Thank you.
She's not paid to be.
You can tell she's real. She's
Yeah.
real.
Yeah.
And I like that.
Yeah.
Thank you. You gave a lot of good
No problem.
input.
All right, wonderful, guys. Well, I will not keep you here into the wee hours of the morning. But if you have any questions or need anything else, this is all my contact information, my personal cell. If you're like, hey, I want to sign up for the Hondros class, or hey, I'm done with my classes, I want to get my sponsorship, or wherever you're at in the process, let me know. I've got your information. I'll do some follow-up with all of you tomorrow, but if you want to beat me to it, you're welcome to. And if you need anything else, please let me know. And thank you so much for being here tonight.
I'm gonna put this in my